Hello folks, for anyone who missed it, yesterday I'm going to kind of go over this whole rule tile idea. So if you make a basic tile, you can just use the tile map here, and if you ever can't find this, you can go up to window, and there's panels in here, and then you can do layouts, and if you mess up your layout, you can reset the layout here. That will put everything back in the proper place. And then we also have stuff down here like 2D, and this is where the tile palette would be. Sprite editor, things like that, right? So those things can all be found in Windows, or it's usually up here. But if you have something like this, then you can paint with individual tiles like this. You'll see it's not smart. It doesn't know what a top is. You're just manually painting stuff in. But you can make something called a rule tile here. And rule tiles are smart. So this is going to figure out where the corners are, and you see that it is automatically putting these in. Now, the one I made right here has a few weaknesses. Like if I go like this, it doesn't really know how to interpret these corners over here. However, if this were filled in, it could kind of figure it out. Now, you'll notice that because it's interpreting this as lower right corner, though the upper left is not filled in there. That could all be fixed here based on the order you make these. This is kind of how rule tiles work. You have a corner and you tell it where not to be. Well, if it were something like, say, this corner, well, because the grass is here, the edge of it, you know nothing, this tile would not continue up or to the left. So we X'd out up and to the left on this one, meaning not up here, not up here. But it can extend to the right, and it can extend downwards. So we've got that. This top one, it cannot extend up here because the grass is here. The boundary is at this edge, so there wouldn't be another tile here. But it can extend to the left, to the right, and downwards. And for the interior of the square. So the way I make one of these, you can do this in Piscal too, but the way I make one of these, I take my PPI, remember that pixels per unit size that we make everything, like mine is 50. So I figure that out, and I figure out how many tiles I need to make a basic square like you see here. This got all the sides I would need. A top left corner, a top middle, and this top middle can extend. You'll see like up here extends multiple, but you only need one when you create it. So a top left, a middle, a top right, a right side, a lower right, a bottom, a lower left, and left. And then these are the inside corners, like here and here. See how it's got this inside corner? So you need one for this, one for this, one for this, one for this. And also, it's helpful to maybe have something that compensates for these. Like maybe you want to have one that is a lower corner and one of these. Like if this had one here, that's another rule you could set technically. You'll notice over here though everything looks good. The system app right now doesn't really run into problems until you have, let's see if I can make it do it. So kind of like this type of thing. It kind of runs into problems with these because I haven't set up enough rules. I could add a tile here that the green continued here, and then it had this corner, kind of like a copy of the lower right corner, but with a little green up there. And I could set a rule where if it's X'd in this corner and X'd in this corner, but green everywhere else, you know, that should take care of that. And then I would do a mirrored version for the other direction, etc. But let's look at the basics. I figured out this basic square. So that's 50, 50, 50. So 50 times 3 is 150. Then, since I'm adding in these interior corners, like you see here, this little interior corner, I'm adding two more for that. So 5 times 5 is 250 wide by 50 times 3, 150. So I'm going to make a document. Or either I'm going to create each of these individually as 50, like if you're doing Piscal, or if I'm doing it in Illustrator, let's have a pretty basic setup. I'll show you here. So for Illustrator, I'm just going to go ahead and make a new document. When you make a new document, you can change this to pixels up here. So 250 pixels by 150 high. And we're going to want to make a grid here. So first, if you go to View, this lets you bring out visible things. So one thing I want is rulers, so show rulers, or Control R is another thing you can hit for that. And then we're going to go to Edit, and down to Preferences, and we are going to go to Guides and Grid. And we're going to say for our guides, we want a grid line every 50 pixels. And for subdivisions, I'm going to put that to 0, because otherwise there'd be smaller squares within it. That can be handy for certain things, and you can make it snap to those squares. But in this case, I just want the grid lines to be the whole 50 pixel block. That's it, not smaller ones in between. You can change the colors. Like maybe if you like red better for the lines, that's fine. Now, once again, I have to go to view. So this is where you show rulers, guides, things like that. And I'm going to do control grid, or you can see control plus quotation mark. Or I shouldn't say plus, control and quotation mark. You don't actually hit the plus. So now I've got these grid lines here. Now, the cool thing about these rulers is I can actually drag out guides and lay them on these grid lines like this, and they will appear. They don't actually show up in your finished work. You can also turn on view snap to grid if you want to make it really easy to lay these lines or any other graphical object right on these. So boom. I'll do the same. I grab the top ruler, click and hold, drag down. Top ruler, click and hold, drag down. Okay. And then with these guides, you don't want to accidentally move them or select them. So I'm going to go down and to guides. Once again, I went into view. I have lock guides. So I could unlock guides, but I already have them locked, so I'll keep them locked. Okay, now you'll see I can't select them or anything. So these, once again, these do not actually print in the finished work or show up. So you can't see them. They're just guides for us to see visually here. So this lets me know how much each block should be. So the first thing I'm going to do is create my basic square, kind of like this, and associate for all the corners. So let's make something a little bit more maybe futuristic or cool. Let's see. Trying to think of what I want to make. So I have black for my fill color. I'm actually going to change this to like gray. And then a black stroke around the edge. Oh, I have snap to grid on right now, so it will only snap to the grid points. That's a problem. So if I want to just draw anywhere, I have to turn off snap to grid. So I'm going to control click to deselect that. What I'm basically shooting for here, I'm going to hit A. A will let you select just a point out of this object. What I'm shooting for is to make a half, and I'll just duplicate the other half. I could even drag a line out here if I wanted. So I want to make sure these kind of line up. Alright, so if you control click, you deselect because I want to be able to draw my next object. Now I'm using the pencil tool here. For that, I'm going to switch this so it's got a black fill. Control click. Click in black for the fill. I'll hit N for the pencil, and now I want to do some black. I don't want the fill, I want it just to be black lines. So I'm going to do that. Remember, you can change this line shape too. Let's see, I should be able to reverse that. Here, if I hit the stroke thing. Somewhere in here there is a way to reverse it so it starts down here and goes up here, or I could just redraw it. Yeah, let's just do that. So I'm going to just delete it, and I'll click here and go up to here, so it's just going in the opposite direction. Alright, so I'm going to drag a selection around all that. I'll hit Control G to group it. Object transform, reflect, and make a copy across the vertical. So that gives me some perfect symmetry there. I'm holding shift while I control click it to line it up. going to select the whole thing. Actually, I might move this out just a little bit and double check. Another way you could do this if you want more room is you could hit P for pen tool and click. You see this little line below my cursor? That means I'm joining this. Control click. Same thing here. I see that little line. I'm clicking there and to there. And then I could grab this and this. I might have to ungroup this, or I could double click this and move this over. Move this over. Or else I needed to do to make it look a little more neutral. I could also draw a little line here. Let's just do that. If you hit I, you get an eyedropper, so I can grab the style from that one there and make it more like this again. Then I hit this back to go out of the grouping. So I got my little graphic here. In the real world, I would probably spend more time on this and make it look cool. Now that it's all one grouped thing, I can like click on the corner, hold shift, and I can, resize it, whatever. Okay. And I think I'm gonna do, let's see, something like this. I'm gonna use eyedropper to grab my color again. I'll try the rounded rectangle tool. So I think there is a way. Let's see. There's a way to change the rounding. Somewhere over here I could change the rounding, but that's okay. Oh, actually I think I could pull, these little circles in here. Now I could throw a gradient in here too if I want to make this look extra cool. So let's take that out there. We'll grab a gray from here by hitting a plus and drag it to that side. We could make the stroke go away too if we wanted to by hitting none, but I kind of like it, so I think I'll bring it back. I can make it like a dark gray too. Make it thinner perhaps. I'm going to place this behind the skull by right clicking and going to arrange, send to back. You can send things back one level or back all the way to the back, so objects can overlap in different levels without you having to make layers. I will send to back, so it's behind the skull. And I am just going to copy, Control C, Control F for paste in front. Click, hold, drag with shift. Control C, copy, Control F to paste in front. Click, hold, drag down with shift. Keep doing that. Now I'll copy one. And I'll paste it again. This time I'm going to click, hold, and drag it up here. I'll go to see this little rotation icon. If I go slightly outside the corner, I'll click, hold, and drag that while holding shift. Oops, I accidentally clicked the little circle. I want to leave the amount of airspace over here. You can run these right up to the corner, which actually might be a good idea in this case. You know what? I think I'm going to do that. This, I don't want to stick out, so I'm using the keyboard keys. That's what we call a nudge. If you have something selected, you can use the keyboard keys to slightly push something left or right. I'm going to hold shift to select everything except for these. Let's see if we can pull these down here. Command C, Command F, Command C, Command F. Command C, Command F. So I'm going to drag a selection around just these, not the skull. Do the same thing, pull them out so they're a little longer here. Okay, and then in this interior, I can kind of draw whatever. I think I'm going to do a rectangle going from here to here. And I'll click this gradient here, double click it, maybe. They have a gradient option somewhere over here too. If it's not there, you can go up to Window and find it. This will reverse gradients. I kind of want it more like that. There's a gradient tool we can try here too. The problem is if these blocks link up with the middle block here, this gradient can be hard to match on the other side, so just be cognizant of that. Okay, now I'm going to change the edges of that to black. Double click, drag down to black. Actually, no, because we don't want a black separator between these, so I'm going to put it to none, I think, and drag this all the way out to that corner. Okay, now with the black arrow, I'll click this and do right click, arrange. You can also just do a shortcut key. You don't have to go to arrange. You can just use these shortcut keys it shows over here. This is making me rethink my idea to make this light gray. I kind of want it to be black now. I'm going to click that, hold shift and click, click, click. If you want to select multiples, shift is going to be your friend. Click the first, hold shift and click, 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 click. Double click this, black. Okay. So for my middle, I think I'm just going to kind of copy this. Copy, paste. Oops, I missed some in there. Shift, click, 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 click. You know, a better way to do this might be, I'm going to Control Z to undo a couple times. Select all of these. And let's see if we can change the width of all of them. and then individually move them.
Good morning, everyone. May we have your attention?
Should be pretty close. Alright, so this whole one, I'm going to select all this type by drag a selection and hit Control G to group it. And then I'm just going to do Object, Transform, Reflect, Copy, click, hold, and drag to get my site over here. And then I'm going to do Command C to copy, Command F to paste. I'm going to drag this down here. Make sure that lines up at the bottom. Now what I'm going to do on this one, I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift Alt G or Control Shift G to ungroup. I'll grab my skull. Oops. I want to keep the skull grouped though. Let's see if I can get just that guy. If you drag a selection around something like this, you can hold down Shift and click to take things away. So I'm getting everything except the skull. If I have just a skull, I hit Control G again just to make sure he's grouped. Alright, so on the rest of this, I'm just going to select it and do Control G again. I am just going to do Object, Transform, Reflect, Horizontal. Okay, I'm not making a copy this time. I'm going to move this guy down here. Selecting all this again, Control G, and I'm going to do Objects. Actually, first I'll do Control C copy, Control F paste, drag it over. Once again, it helps to hold Shift while you drag it to keep it lined up. And I will do Object, Transform, Reflect, Vertical, and OK, because I'm not making a second copy. I'm doing that with the original. Okay, I'm going to drag a selection around this stuff. Now this, I don't want this going from gray to black. It looks weird. So I'm going to use my gradient tool on this again. I can double click it if I want to edit just this specifically. I'll try this. Here's a little rotation icon. I can probably make that work. Okay, so I'm going to go back to black arrow, drag selection on just this middle stuff. Control G, Control C to copy, Control F to paste. And I am going to take that one I pasted down here. Once again, holding Shift can help. And I can grab the corner with that little rotate, hold Shift. I'm using the keyboard keys to nudge it. Making sure it lines up at the top of that square. So it lines up here. Control C to copy, Control F to paste. Drag up while holding Shift. Okay. Copy, paste, Object transform, reflect. Okay. And maybe for his middle tile, I'm gonna go ahead and do a box here with this color again. You can do snap to grid again if you want. Now I'll hit gradient and we'll flip it. Okay, maybe I'll do something like, let's see, do the pen tool.
Excuse this interruption. We do have a late bus this morning. Please allow students into your class without a pass. Thanks.
Oh, I need to turn off that extreme snap to grid again too. That's the problem it's giving me. Okay. Let's see. I'm going to double click the shape so I can work on that strip individually here. Just work on the shape a little bit here. So if I get my general shape, I can do the same thing here. Select it. Transform. Reflect. Copy. And I'll shift select this and join these two. So we can do Control J. Should do it. Control J. Now it's one object. Okay. I'm going to drag this out and kind of put it right in the middle of this. See how it lines up with that top and bottom point. So that way I can kind of see the center symmetry. And then I'm going to start drawing in some features. I don't know why I can't see my lines on this. I'm going to go ahead and just give this black line for now so I can see it better. You can use a minus to take away points you don't need. You can add points with plus if you need to. Alright, so just try to decide if I want to go with a line here or something else. Let's see. And drag a selection out from here and hold shift to get rid of these things. So it's just this stuff, and do Control G for group. Then I'm gonna go ahead and reflect that, do a copy, click, hold, and Control Shift. Okay, so this whole thing here, I'm gonna go ahead and get rid of the fill color. Make this maybe a darker gray. We can just increase the thickness of this line here. If you click and stroke, you can give it a rounded end too. I'll hit A to move to the white arrow. Okay, make it look like a tube of some sort. Alright, then we'll rinse and backward. Rinse and back. And I'm going to do a couple of these that are just the color black, and we'll do And then you can use A to move these individual points where you need to. You can zoom in, Control plus. Control 0 will take us out to full zoom. Okay, I'm going to do P for pan here. And drag out a line like that. Oops, I accidentally connected those. I don't want to do that. Alright, so we'll take this one. I'm just going to increase the size again. Make sure it's rounded. And this one I'm going to switch it to have solid white. Make sure this is rounded. Then we can actually kind of fade this out, make it more transparent. They have an appearance panel here in Windows. Or sorry, not Windows, but in Illustrator. If we go to Window, we can do appearance, or there's transparency down here, but appearance works well. I'm just going to say its opacity be a little lower. Now if I do a minus here, remember that you can double click this line too. So minus. Actually, cut. There is a cut. That might work better. So it gives us kind of a little highlight that we can fade out. I'm going to copy this one, Control F, paste. Oops. I'm going to double click that. So I'm still in that line style I had down here with I. Just taking some stuff out of the selection. Okay. Didn't mean to get the nose there. You can double click and delete that and back. So if I do control and then the square bracket a couple times, there you go. I want it behind this, but in front of this. If you want your keyboard increments to be smaller amounts, you can go to Edit, Preferences, General, and then your keyboard increments. Let's try that. That might be too small. Preferences, General, 0.05. That's really precise. So I'm using the keyboard to nudge again. Okay, so we got a little bit of everything here. Now the next thing we need is just interior corners. So basically that is going to be like if one of these walls were coming down this way and going out this way, we just need an interior corner and interior like this. So I think for that, all I'm really going to do is copy one of these, paste it, put it here. I'm just going to get rid of these. So I double click that to go inside it. To keep the rest of the grouping, I just want to delete these. For this, I'm going to adjust that gradient too. I'm going to use a different type of gradient on this one. Problem is, this black won't line up well with the gray up there. Okay, well, I'm going to call it good enough for now. I'm going to group these with Command G, and I will take these, and I will copy, paste, nudge, transform, reflect. Then I'll copy one of these, paste it again. Helps do snap to grid too sometimes to line this up in there perfectly. Or nudge. Let's see, I have to do the lower. And then this I can do reflect, copy, so I'll cover a corner where these little pipings are coming down here with the interior, and here piping down, piping down, piping down, piping down. I guess I'll do one of these that's like this. With one of these skeletons. I'm going to copy that back out of here, paste it. Group those. And then I'm going to copy that, paste that, reflect it. I think that should cover a lot of what I need. So I'm going to save this. Oh, actually one last thing. when I made this shape, I meant to make it a gradient where it is darker around the outside. So I'll go to gradient. We have something called a freeform gradient here, and that allows me to put points around the edge and double click them to put a color in it. So around the edge I want to put black or a darker color. But then in some of these middle areas I want to put lighter gray. Okay. Alright, so it gives kind of a 3D look. Kind of cool. This whole thing here, this highlight thing, I want to edit that a bit. Okay. I think that's pretty good. Okay, there we go. And make sure we faded both of these down to the appropriate percentage. Oh, there's two of them. I think that's why we're having a problem. Okay. There we go. All right. So I'm going to save this on my local computer here. Then I want to make sure I go to File, Export As, Name, and make sure it's in PNG. Keep the transparency because anything, I filled in all the squares, but you don't want this stuff showing up as white. I would keep it on that because otherwise the size gets too large. And hit OK. Alright, we can then go into Unity, and I made a new folder here for Telemap. So we'll grab the file we just made, drag it in here. So I have this. I'm going to set this to multiple. 50 is my pixel per unit size. I'm going to change the filter mode to point. That's that thing that can sometimes cause some image compression. And I hit Sprite Editor. That takes me to apply. Alright, so I kind of gave it a pixelated look, which I'm cool with. Alright, so we're going to do 50 by 50. Notice it lines up perfectly because I planned for the 50 by 50 size. Hit Slice. Apply. Now these are split up into individuals. So we're then going to close this. We're going to do right click, create, and then we will do 2D. We're going to make a Ruletile. Now, I don't think we need to make a default game object for that over here. But you know what? Just for the heck of it, I'm going to create an empty here and say, whatever I want to name it. Okay, so then that, I'm going to go down here, find my Ruletile. I'm going to drag this over there just in case. So maybe not. I guess I don't have to worry about it yet. Alright, so we need to make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 of these. So I could just hit plus a bunch of times, or I could say 15. Enter. I'm going to start dragging these tiles in here one by one. Now for this one, the main one, I'm just going to drag this here. This is just so you can kind of see what it looks like. Okay, so I got my left corner. I work procedurally, kind of in order. Top right. Then I'm going to do my left side, middle, right side, lower left corner, lower middle, lower right, and then this one, my lower inside corner, lower left inside corner, lower right inside corner, or left inside corner, etc. Alright, so for these, I just basically have to tell it where it shouldn't go. So this is a corner. It can't extend past this corner into the air. So I'm saying double click for no above it, double click for no to the left of it, meaning it can't extend this way or this way because it's a corner. It can extend to the right, and we can see that if we look at my original here. See this block here, it doesn't go out here or out here, but it can extend to the right or down, or even this direction. So for these ones, they're just simple corners. I don't really mess with the corners usually. This one cannot extend above it because it's a middle, but it can go to the left, to the right, and down. This one, it cannot go above it or to the right because it's a corner, so it can't extend out that way or that way, but it can go this way and this way. This one cannot extend out that direction because it's the left corner, but it can go up, down, left, etc. This is the middle, so it can go any which way. This one cannot extend that way, but it can go there, there, there. This one cannot go that way or that way, but it can go there and there. This one cannot go that way, but it can go there, there, there. This one cannot go there, there, but it can go there and there. Now this one, it cannot extend that way or that way, but it can go that way and that way. This one can't go that way and that way, but it can go that way and that way. This one can't go there, but it can go there, there, there. These are those inside corners. Okay, so this Ruletile here, let's actually drag this into this tile palette I have. Now if we start painting with this, okay, do you see how it's automatically determining middle pieces and stuff? That's pretty cool. Now here it's not determining that should be an interior corner though. So sometimes the order really does matter with these. Sometimes I need to drag the middle piece down below everything. Sometimes that fixes it. You can click this here and drag it here. Okay, now I did put those there. Now this is pretty light though, so I'll probably have to go back and fix that later. Right now I'm not going to worry about it. But so it is following those rules I have set. Now, another big thing to remember, these will go on grids. Like these have to go on a grid. So if I didn't already have a grid, the way I would get that is I would, excuse me, go to, let me right click in here, do 2D object, tile map. And I would want to do rectangular. So the tile map is sort of like a grid here that all this stuff maps onto. And right now it's going onto this one. Now for a tile map, it's super important that you remember to tag it as ground layer. Because remember the way this works, our jump detection has to detect that your jump box is overlapping ground layer. So this all needs to be in ground layer, all the visible stuff you can jump at. Now you'll have to make a whole nother layer here for the background stuff that you don't want collision detection on. So obviously in the background of the scene, you don't want, as you walk along, the entire background stops you from moving or cancels a jump. So you're going to do one layer like this, and then you can do one or more layers that are just backgrounds and do not have ground layer checked. So they don't have that collision detection, and they don't count as something you can jump against. But here you can kind of see how this works. Now these, I'd want to narrow things like this down. I'd have to make a special rule for this one, where it's got a bottom piece here, but then it's got that inside corner like the skull here. So you can add some other ones to this above and beyond the 15 to compensate for things like that. I could go in and say something like, hey, I want to have one that's got a bottom here, but also a skull in the upper right here to compensate for something like that. And then I could go ahead and bring those in separately again and add them into my Ruletile. So if I click Ruletile here, I could add one down here, and I could just basically put that in. So let's just see if we could do that real quick. I'm going to say, hey, what if I have something with the bottom here, but it's also got one of these skulls. So I'm going to double click this, copy the skull back out, and I will paste that in here. going to copy that. I could go into like a new document that's like 50 pixels by 50 pixels. Actually, let's do 100 by 100. I'm going to paste that in here. And then I could do copy that range, reflect, copy. All right, let's copy this, paste. Now on this one, I'm actually going to want this whole thing to be rotated that way. This guy will be here. I'm going to group that, and then we're going to do transform, reflect, copy for this one. All right, now we can save this as, once again, on your computer, so save to computer, not in the cloud. Corner blocks. Save it. And this is our working file. We saved the Illustrator one as a working file. Then we could go export as, corner blocks, once again PNG. This is tempting to save it for better resolution. However, it does change the size, so your 50 by 50 won't work for like the auto cutting and stuff. So I leave it 72, and make sure you keep that transparency. Okay, we're gonna bring in corner blocks. We are going to cut up corner blocks. It's multiple 50. No filter sprite. Cut that by 50s. Lines up perfectly again. That's why that 50 by 50 system's so nice. Apply. Now we're going to go to our Ruletile, and let's lock this Ruletile so we can click into this and not lose this. Alright, so I already made one new tile here. I'm just going to basically overwrite the thing that's in it. 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to change these to be the new ones. So then I get top right, bottom left, upper right, or upper left, upper right. So that should cover all of them. Okay, so this one would be if there's blocks that cannot go down here, cannot go down up here. I think we might have to experiment here. This one, blocks cannot go up here past this. They cannot go down here. Okay. Excuse me. So we're getting some improvement there. Let's see. Now something like this. That should be this block right here. And once again, I probably need to drag our middle block down past all those for them to fully take effect here. Because the order does matter. They have this thing up here, extend neighbor. Enabling this allows you to increase the range of neighbors beyond the 3x3 box. Sometimes you have to click that, and this gives you a finer tool. See how we can kind of control more about how that works. So like this one. So there's a lot of fine tuning you can do with that. I'll probably do another video on extending neighbor because that gives you some pretty powerful features you can try and use. And a lot of it's experimenting with the order by where you drag these two. See, the higher this one is, the more dominance it kind of tends to take. And then if you slide it down towards the bottom, it tends to give some of those inner corner priorities. We could try taking some of these up a little higher too. Now, if you want to erase here, you can erase. There is a way to let's see, to select a box to erase. I just forget what the keyboard shortcut is for it. Okay, so if I click on this one, I can see my basic one. And then here, let's see how this one's looking now. So it actually did pick up that interior corner and that interior corner, which is moving in the right direction. Now this should have a right here, but it should have an interior corner up here, which would be this. Let's see. I have to look around for that one. It's kind of hard to see with these boxes over this. But it would be the right corner with the skull in the upper left. But we're making progress. We fill these in. Those ones are pretty much set up. And once again, the issue of the color there is just because when I made those gradients here, I just accidentally made them extra light. So I would, of course, fix that in the final version. Alright. I'm going to shut the video off for now. That should get you there. And then we can talk more later about these special ones, like if you are going here from having a corner to another corner or interior corner, etc.